2001 is the first time we established a stationary team. That is, a team that was in China for the entire month. I led that team in 2001, and since that time, I've probably been to China about 17 times, leading students over there. I can name 10 former students, just off the top of my head, who went to China, not with any intention of going back, but for some reason, God just seemed to change their heart. The relational ministry in China, the Chinese people themselves, just the environment and the opportunities that China presents just seems to get a hold of some people.
After each summer of ministry in China, I have always wanted to return because of how wonderfully the program reaches the Chinese children who are so open and ready to hear the gospel. This last year, I was teaching a group of girls who were 7 to 8 years old. And one of them in particular, she came in not even knowing the possibility of there being a God, let alone knowing the name Jesus Christ. Each and every morning, she would listen intently to every testimony, and she would actively participate in every discussion we had about Jesus. She would come back asking new and incredibly thoughtful questions about Christ, some of which I had never even thought of before. While she didn't accept Jesus by the end of the program, the Lord is raising up an incredible body of believers in China, and I'm trusting that there will be another stepping stone in her life that will lead her to the Lord.
1 Corinthians, Paul talks about in sharing the gospel and someone coming to know Christ, maybe one person plants the seed of the gospel and a different person waters it, and then a different person harvests it and gets to see that person actually come to faith. First year that I was there, we got to see a lot of harvesting. There was a lot of students who gave their life to Christ, and a lot of students who had been part of the program several years in a row who were now giving their life to Christ. So, just looking at it from a kingdom perspective, there's clearly a benefit there of choosing to continue to invest in this place. But then also looking at, for the students, the ones going on the mission trip, I feel like we also benefited from that because in a very short amount of time, we got to experience all these different phases of ministry that typically take years to experience. Like in those 10 days at this one summer camp, I got to share the gospel with someone where they're hearing it for the first time. And I got to, so it's planting the seed. And I got to water. I got to people who had been at the summer camp before and had heard the gospel and were still thinking about it and sort of needing more prompting through that and asking questions. I got to talk to people in that phase. And I got to harvest. I got to pray with people to receive Christ who had been thinking about this for years since the first time they heard the gospel. And so it was a really unique experience to be able to engage with these different aspects of ministry that typically are not all happening in the same place. Mm-hmm. And I think that experience was a large part of me feeling the call into long-term ministry.
I think there is so much value in coming into an already established ministry. I kind of see it in two ways. One is starting something from new is a lot of hard work, and although new is exciting, there's something to be said about being able to just jump right in to something that's already existing and being able to add to it, which is what we get to do in China. And the other part is because we've been going for so long, we've been able to hear the stories of young men and women who were once participants in the program who are now volunteers and translating for us. So it's a really exciting thing to be able to see the investment that's been put into their lives and be a part of that.
We have a really unique alumni couple. One of them was a student with us who traveled 3 summers, and one of them was a student in one of the programs that we put on in Fuzhou. When C returned to China on her own, they met, became friends, obviously fell in love and got married, and now both of them are working together with the group of Chinese Christians that we work with to put on these summer programs. It's pretty cool. I first came to China with Royal Servants because I had saved up some money to go on a summer trip. I did a Google search, which led me to their website, and I remember scrolling down the list of teams when I got to China, my heart jumped. I had always wanted to go to China, but I always thought of it as some faraway, unreachable place. I signed up that day, and looking back at the 3 trips and 5 years of now living in China, it was one of the best decisions I had ever made. On my first trip with Royal Servants, I fell in love with China, and wanted to come back as soon as possible. That decision to return was very easy. As a Royal Servant student, I love seeing my Chinese students open up over the course of the camp. I could see their faces and hearts open up while we loved on them. And now, living in China and learning more about the culture, I understand even more how many Chinese students are starving for that kind of attention and affection in their busy homework-focused worlds. And now that I get to see the behind-the-scenes work of the summer camp, I'm even more amazed how the Father puts all of this together. I am overjoyed to see the students that I have been working with all year slowly open up and suddenly break open. The Royal Servant summer camps really are the culmination of a lot of the work we do here throughout the year.
Getting to go back multiple times to China, we got to experience in the previous summers people coming into a new relationship with Christ. And in the next years, it was really heartening to see those people take a lead in the same programs that they learned a lot about Christ in. We would come back the next summer and they would be like within the leadership of the program. They were planning the events that they participated in when they were like a new brother or sister in Christ.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree that was one way that we saw just the ministry keep building, that new Christians were being discipled once we left China, and that was really cool to see their relationship grow with Christ.
So W says this: my first year joining the summer camp, I was so nervous that I could barely talk, but I learned so much about myself and the Bible. To move from being a nervous to being a leader, I wouldn't have believed it before, but it was easy. And I found myself loving leading the other local people and working with the Royal Servants leaders to put everything together. I learned so much from the Royal Servants leaders. Their team is really, really good. It was also cool to see the Western students open themselves up and grow over the course of the summer camp.
I've worked with a lot of different missionary partners over the years, and the last few with Chinese believers themselves. And over the years since I first started in 2001, I've seen an interesting progression, and that is from us coming in and being part of a single program to being now a part of a ministry strategy. The believers in China and the missionaries that we work with fit us into an entire strategy they have, not only for reaching the students, but reaching their parents and then reaching the city itself. So it's more than just coming in and doing a program, but we become a significant part of the overall picture of reaching China for a lot of the people that we work with overseas.